Do you love to contemplate the cosmos? Are you a stargazing person? Anybody? All right. Maybe you're one of those people who has a telescope you keep in the basement and bring out to the front yard a few times a year. Maybe you're just a headline news junkie, or perhaps you have twin 6-year-old boys. I don't know what's going on in your life, but the last few days in my house have become overtaken by, well, not to alarm you, but a black hole. Have you seen it? For the first time, astronomers have captured an image of the supermassive black hole at the center of our galaxy. It's the first direct observation confirming the presence of the black hole, known as Sagittarius A, as the beating heart of the Milky Way. Now, black holes do not emit light, but the image shows the shadow of the black hole surrounded by a bright ring, which is light bent by the gravity of the black hole. Astronomers say the black hole is 4 million times more massive than our sun. For decades, astronomers have wondered what lies at the heart of our galaxy, pulling stars into tight orbits through its immense gravity, says astrophysicist Michael Johnson. Now, I'll be honest, when I first saw this image, for a split second, my heart raced, my palms broke out in a sweat, and I quickly scanned the page to see just how far away we were talking about this black hole. Friends, I reassure you, we will be all right. It is 27,000 light years away from Earth. Now, this black hole consumed all discussion in my family for about 24 good hours. We asked each other wondering questions. We researched those questions, which became in themselves a black hole leading onward to endless streams of questions. Yet, I cannot help but ponder the black hole that looms in our spirit, in our lives. See, right about now, we are in danger of being pulled inward by a force as easy as gravity, but stronger than any gravity we have ever known. We are in danger of keeping ourselves to ourselves because we were forced to stay home every day and on Sundays and to tune in to our spiritual lives on a screen. And then UUCA did answer the call of the moment and put together a beautiful, gorgeous live stream experience for you. And all you had to do was walk over from your bedroom to your living room and hit play. Maybe you didn't even get as far as your living room. I don't really know. But like the ocean loves in waves, and our physical presence has ebbed at the shoreline of community for quite some time now. It is time to prepare to return to one another. Before gravity pulls you back into yourself, it is a powerful temptation. As the world becomes more complicated, more scarier, and now, on top of beach houses falling into the sea, reproductive rights being taken from us by small-minded people with far too much power, we now have to also worry about a black hole. It is enough to keep us home for good. But if we forget how to gather, and why we must gather, it won't be for good at all. In many ways, this is about forming new habits. And we here at UCA, we are in the business of transformation and soulful connection, not to mention taking courageous action. And so this means it is time to dust ourselves off, shake the detritus off of our clipped wings, and remember once again how to fly. Now, I've been spending some good time with the book, The Art of Gathering, written by professional meeting facilitator and party facilitator Priya Parker, who gives us this very clear truth. Conflict unearths purpose. Conflict unearths purpose. When the pandemic first began, we were confused. We were lonely. Early on, I found this conflict. I found early purpose. I was clear about what was needed. We innovated. And in our innovation, in our resilience, we adapted to the comfort of staying home and watching the worship. And it was good. It was good. Our purpose became clear to connect and care for each other in new ways that the pandemic demanded. But now we face a new conflict, that it is still scary and difficult to return back to each other. But true community exists in 3 dimensions. In 2 dimensions too, it is everywhere. But what's happening here, this is not a show. I forgot the movement prayer. I wrote the movement prayer. This is not theater. This is not a spectator sport. Amen? Let me hear you. Amen. This is real community, alive with chaos, beauty, and conflict. It is wild. Now, weary from loneliness, from transitions and loss, constant pivoting. Can hardly hear that word anymore. Pivot. Ugh. We are now entering a new phase of the late pandemic. I call it bewilderment. From bewilder, be wilder, be wilder, be wilder. To be thoroughly led into the wild. To feel perplexed and confused. See, this works as a graduation sermon as well. As Reverend Abby Tennis tells us, when everything around us is unknown and potentially dangerous and confusing and perplexing, and it feels impossible to grasp any kind of certainty, well, that's bewilderment. Now, for many Sufi Muslims, one of the most important experiences of the holy is the experience of bewilderment. In the spiritual realm, Sufis talk about moments of spiritual impasse when one's mind is utterly perplexed to the point of even ceasing to function. These are actually blessed times for them, for out of this knot of bewilderment, a spiritual reality is given the opportunity to unravel and reveal itself in shattering clarity. The ultimate nature of the holy, or as they would say, Allah, is that Allah is ultimately and utterly unknowable. Every time the spiritual speaker moves ahead on the spiritual path, every time we come to know more about the holy, we realize more and more deeply that the holy cannot ever truly be known. Much like our solar system, really. Ancient Semizen were taught by being given a 3-foot square board with a large round-headed nail in the middle. They would perform rituals, and then they would place their foot around the nail with the nail between their big toe and their second toe. They would practice like that, spinning around the nail for about 90 days. They would sleep and eat and things like that, but they would practice the spinning for 90 days before ever being allowed to participate in the larger ceremony. So while the whirling of the Sufi dervishes looks similar to the ballerina in many ways, have you seen it? The whirling dervishes. In many ways, there is a key difference. While ballet dancers employ a practice called spotting to keep control of their movements and avoid dizziness, Semizen allow their gaze to follow their turning and release themselves into the bewilderment. When I was describing this to my spouse, he was getting anxious thinking about that level of dizziness. Now, Reverend Abby Tennis, she traveled to Turkey. She studied with Semizen, and those people in her group soon found that those of them who were better able to let go of control, to meditatively release themselves into bewilderment, well, they were able to learn Sema, the turn, much more easily than those who were trained dancers with excellent control. As Abby devoted herself to the turning, she realized that when she didn't try to spot, when she just let her gaze soften, followed her turning, it all became a blur. She couldn't track where she was in the room, how close she was even to another person. It felt dangerous to be so out of control of her connection to the space around her. But the more the world around her was a potentially dangerous blur, the more she started to come into touch with her own body. She found within herself a quiet, calm center. There's something about bewilderment that helps us figure out what is truly important. When all is spinning, one's core, one's connection to the holy, well, that becomes all that matters. Whether you define the holy as Allah or the still small voice within, or your ground of being, or goddess, when nothing around us makes sense anymore, we are forced to look within. To our bridging seniors, remember this lesson of the whirling dervishes. Remember that when nothing seems clear and you feel yourself being sucked into that black hole of self-isolation, there is another, stronger force, stronger than an inexorable pull to stay solitary. It is the force of love. It is the force of self-knowledge, calling you back into the gathering of all souls. The gathering of people where here we spin together. Now, I did contemplate inviting you to spin, but I think we are not going to do that. We've got the bridge, we've got a lot going on. But this is where we spin together, working out the questions and the problems, the conflicts of life. We are preparing to gather once again. I mean, I know we're gathering here now, but I guess I'm talking about August when we gather in our next campus. We gather for our next era of this congregation. So let us return like waves to the beach as the tide returns to meet the shoreline with a sense of rhythm and intention. When we return, may we know ourselves and our purpose a little better. Maybe we know what we stand for, what we won't stand for, where our boundaries are. In our bewilderment, let us find our center that keeps us going. The art of gathering offers layers of wisdom and ideas and justifications for intentional gathering. I want to share just a couple of things that will serve us in our continued emergence back to the shoreline of each other's being. So, we live in an age of perpetual distraction. You know this. You may be thinking now about some distractions. But for one morning each week, I want to invite you to cross the threshold, cross the bridge into our space, our collective space that we have built together and dreamed together. Put down your phone and be fully present. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. And when you come, look into each other's eyes. Listen to one another with holy curiosity. How have you been? How are you really? Enjoy each other's presence. Remember what it feels like to be entirely, fully whole and here. Offer someone the gift of your presence. In some sense, our presence is all we really have. This is what Priya Parker tells us. Our presence is all we really have. She exalts the gift of presence. She believes there is nothing more valuable than your own presence that you have to offer. And finally, she says a lot of things. It's a great book, but I just chose a couple to talk about today. Finally, she says, always serve each other first. Always serve each other first. If there is a beverage, a coffee hour, food to be served, seats to be had, doors to be opened, always serve each other first. That way you can rest knowing you will always be served too. A key part of gathering artfully is fostering a sense of generous authority. So knowing what is the purpose of our gathering together in real life on Sundays, it's not necessarily to check out a new building or to even see our friends. Maybe it is to remember that we exist in real time and space, that our presence matters. And really beyond mattering, that there is a place where we are all cherished, where we cherish each other. As the world becomes scarier, more difficult, we will need this more than ever. We will need to connect with our interdependent thread, the sense of being in rhythm together, breathing together, heart beating together, that feeling that washes over your chest when you hear the choir's voice soar in harmony or even as one. You have that sense that something is happening to you. You are part of that chorus of souls. Something is requiring your complete attention, the full gift of your presence. And you long to serve that rhythm. That's when I feel the most connected anyway. Like I can carry more with you than I could ever carry alone. It's when we syncopate with each other, when I start to ride the waves of energy, and it's you. You are the waves. And you have worked so hard to create the structure that can then hold our dreams, our vision. And now we need to not only renovate a building, but renovate the culture of this place so that we know how to be more radically welcoming, how to exist not for ourselves alone, but in service to each other, to our wider community. And that is actually a heck of a lot harder than raising money or taking on a building project or carrying a community through a pandemic. And we've already done all of those things. So when you feel the powerful gravitational pull of the habit you have formed these 2 years that was in self-protection, that was good. Remember the rhythm we create here together. Rise and gather together. There is no replacing this harmony. The gift of our presence. Now, this next world, this next era of UUCA, this emerging post-pandemic world, it will be strange. It will be awkward. We will feel that bewilderment. We will all feel bewildered, not knowing where to go or quite how to greet each other. Maybe we're there now. But we will also find our rhythm once again. We will reclaim our spiritual center. We will ask each other if we are ready for a hug. We will invite each other to come sit by me. We will serve each other coffee and donuts, yes, once again. And we will cross a threshold together and offer each other the gift of our full attention, our most divine presence. And this is how we will complete our renovation.